The cold wind of January bit through my coat as I stood at our front door, holding the key to our falling apart marriage. It all started a few weeks ago on a chilly evening. I'd been working late at the office, trying to finish an important task. When I got home, tired and drained, I found my wife Emily on the couch, her face lit up by her phone. Her fingers moved across the screen, and a faint smile played on her lips. "Hey, honey," I greeted her wearily, bending down to kiss her cheek. She jumped, as if startled, quickly hiding her phone behind her back. "Oh, hey," she replied, her voice strained, cheeks flushed with guilt. Suspicion nagged at me. I glanced at her phone, trying to see what had made her so flustered. That's when I saw it, an incoming message from someone named Alex. "Who's Alex?" I asked, my voice tense with anxiety. Emily hesitated before replying, "Just a friend from work." But the message I glimpsed told a different story. "I love you and I can't wait to see you again. Missing you so much." My heart sank and a pit formed in my stomach. "This doesn't look like just a friend," I said, my voice trembling with anger and hurt. "What's going on?" Emily stammered, her face contorted with guilt. Then she tried to deny it. "It's not what it looks like, I promise. It's just a misunderstanding." But I couldn't believe her. Doubts and fears filled my mind. This was the start of the nightmare that consumed us. Over the next few weeks, I confronted Emily about the messages, her late nights at work, and her sudden disinterest in our marriage. She continued to deny any wrongdoing, playing the victim and asking for another chance. But deep down, I knew she was hiding something. The trust that held our marriage together shattered, leaving me grappling with the painful truth. My wife was having an affair. The weeks that followed were agonizing. We entered a strange, turbulent phase in our marriage, where every word and glance was filled with tension and doubt. One evening, as we sat in our dimly lit living room, I finally gathered the courage to bring up the topic that had been haunting me. "Emily," I began tentatively, my voice shaking. "I can't shake the feeling that there's more to this story. Going to a hotel with a friend to unwind just doesn't sit right with me." Emily looked away, avoiding my gaze. "It's just what I need right now," she said softly. "A little break from everything we've been through lately." I understood, but I couldn't shake the question. Why that specific hotel? Why not a spa or a resort? The distance between us grew, and my heart ached with the uncertainty of our future. "Why does it have to be a hotel?" I asked. Emily hesitated, as if searching for the right words. "Well, it's close to where my friend lives," she said. "She suggested it, and I thought it would be nice to catch up." I couldn't shake the suspicion that she was using this friend as a cover for her affair with Alex. "Emily, I just want us to be honest with each other. If you need time away, I respect that, but I need to know the truth," I said. She looked at me, tears welling up in her eyes. "I promise there's nothing going on. You have to trust me, please," she pleaded. Her words echoed in my mind, but trust felt light years away. As the days passed, I couldn't help but obsess over her planned hotel getaway. Doubt and insecurity gnawed at me, making it hard to concentrate on anything else. The night before her supposed trip, Emily packed her bags with a forced smile, as though trying to convince herself it was just a simple getaway with a friend. "Take care of yourself, okay?" I said, struggling to sound supportive despite my inner turmoil. She hugged me. She hugged me tightly, her eyes filled with uncertainty. "I will, and I promise when I come back, we'll work on us. Everything will be better," she said. I nodded, but deep down I couldn't shake the feeling that she was leaving for something more than just a weekend escape with a friend. As Emily drove away the next morning, the weight of doubt settled over me like a heavy cloud. I knew I had to find out the truth about her hotel plans. The days that followed her departure felt like an eternity. I tossed and turned at night, consumed by thoughts of her and the affair. I was torn between two conflicting emotions. Should I move on and attempt to heal our fractured marriage, or should I confront her and seek the truth I desperately needed? It was a dilemma that haunted every waking moment. One morning, as I stared at myself in the bathroom mirror, I made a decision. I couldn't let this uncertainty continue to eat away at me. I had to know the truth, even if it meant facing the harsh reality of Emily's infidelity. As I drove the kids to school, I couldn't help but feel determined. Today, I would go to the hotel, hoping against hope to catch her and her affair partner post-encounter, if my suspicions were correct. As I replayed my decision over and over in my mind, part of me hoped I was wrong, that my trust in Emily would be restored. But the other part of me was prepared for the worst, a confrontation that could change our lives forever. When I dropped the kids off at school, I watched them walk away, their innocent smiles a stark contrast to the turmoil brewing inside me. I needed to be strong, not just for myself, but for them too. Approaching the hotel, my heart pounded in my chest, doubts and fears swirling in my mind. I parked nearby, took a deep breath, and entered the lobby. My palms were clammy, and I felt a pit in my stomach. I settled into a corner of the breakfast area, strategically positioned to have a view of the entrance. Minutes turned into hours as I waited, my eyes darting nervously, pulse quickening with each passing moment. The aroma of fresh coffee and the clinking of dishes became a backdrop to my mounting anxiety. The clock on the wall seemed to tick louder with each passing second, and doubt began to creep in. What if I was wrong? What if Emily was innocent and I was just tormenting myself for no reason? But the messages, the secrecy, it all pointed to something darker. As the morning sun streamed through the windows, casting long shadows across the room, I couldn't shake a sense of unease. The breakfast area remained empty of any sign of Emily or her affair partner. Was it all a wild goose chase? The clock struck noon, and I knew I had to make a decision. Continue waiting, hoping to catch them, or accept the possibility that I might never find the truth. My heart raced, the weight of my decision hanging heavily upon me. But there was no turning back now. I had embarked on a path that would ultimately lead me to the answers I so desperately sought. The hotel lobby became my solitary refuge as I continued my agonizing stakeout, waiting for any sign of Emily or her affair partner. Doubt and anxiety gnawed at my nerves, and the minutes stretched into what felt like hours. I kept my gaze fixed on the entrance, heart pounding in anticipation every time the door swung open, only to plummet when I realized it wasn't them. I couldn't help but wonder if I had made a terrible mistake, if my suspicions were nothing more than the product of a tormented mind. The breakfast area bustled with guests enjoying their meals, their cheerful chatter a stark contrast to the turmoil inside me. Waitstaff moved efficiently, refilling coffee cups and clearing plates, while I remained trapped in my own personal purgatory. A waitress approached me, her friendly smile at odds with my troubled demeanour. "Can I get you anything else, sir?" she asked, pen poised over her notepad. I forced a weak smile and shook my head. "No, thank you. Just the coffee for now." She nodded and moved on, leaving me to my thoughts. The coffee had grown cold, but I hardly noticed. My mind was consumed by questions, doubts, and a deep sense of dread. I checked my watch for what felt like the 100th time, and the hands seemed to move in slow motion. Noon came and went, and I couldn't shake the sinking feeling that my stakeout might be in vain. Had they slipped through my grasp? Were they onto me? As the minutes turned into hours, I began to question my own sanity. Was I letting paranoia and insecurity dictate my actions? But the messages, the secrecy, it couldn't all be a figment of my imagination. Finally, as the afternoon sun began its descent, I faced a difficult choice. Continue waiting, hoping against hope to catch a glimpse of Emily and her affair partner, or concede that I might have been wrong all along. My heart ached with the weight of the decision, and I knew that whichever path I chose would define the course of our troubled relationship. The clock on the wall continued its relentless march, and as the shadows grew longer, I couldn't escape the nagging feeling that I might have embarked on a futile quest, one that might ultimately lead me to a truth I wasn't prepared to face. As the day dragged on, my patience wore thin, and my determination to uncover the truth reached a breaking point. I couldn't endure the endless waiting any longer. It was time to take a more direct approach. I needed confirmation, no matter how painful it might be. With a deep breath, I approached the hotel's reception desk. A young woman with a friendly smile greeted me. "How may I assist you today, sir?" I tried to appear calm, though my heart raced with anxiety. "I have a question about a guest who might be staying here. Can you help me?" "Of course," she replied, her fingers poised above the keyboard. "What's the guest's name?" I hesitated for a moment, knowing that what I was about to do would shatter the facade of my wife's innocence. "The guest's name is Emily Thompson." The receptionist glanced at her computer screen and typed in the name. After a moment of clicking and typing, she looked up at me with a nod. "Yes, we do have a guest by that name registered here." My heart sank, but I pressed on. "Can you tell me the room number, please?" She paused for a moment, her gaze assessing me, perhaps sensing the tension in my voice. "I'm sorry, sir, but I can't give out room numbers without proper authorization." I had anticipated this roadblock and reached into my pocket, pulling out a small envelope. I have her passport, she left it at home, and I wanted to make sure she had it during her stay. The receptionist took the envelope and inspected it. After a brief pause, she nodded and retrieved a keycard from her drawer. "Very well, sir, room 305, but please make sure to return the passport to her." "Thank you," I replied, my voice strained with mixed emotions. With the keycard in hand, I made my way to the elevator, my heart pounding as I ascended to the third floor. Doubt and dread gnawed at me. I knew that what I was about to discover could shatter the fragile remnant of our marriage. Yeah, I couldn't turn back now. As I stood in front of room 305, I hesitated for a moment, the keycard trembling in my hand. With a deep breath, I inserted it into the lock and the door clicked open. The room was empty, the bed neatly made, but a sense of foreboding filled the air. I couldn't stay in the room for long, fearing that Emily might return at any moment. As I left the hotel, my mind raced with the confirmation I had sought. Emily was indeed staying there, but not under her own name. She was using the name of her affair partner, Alex. The truth was undeniable, and it weighed heavily on my heart. The confrontation I had dreaded for so long was now inevitable, and I knew that our lives were on the brink of a profound and irreversible change. As the sun began its descent, casting long shadows across our living room, I found myself anxiously awaiting Emily's return from the hotel. She had been away for the entire day, and the confirmation of her infidelity hung heavily in the air. The hours dragged on, and I couldn't shake the mixture of anger, betrayal, and sadness that consumed me. When the front door finally opened, I watched as Emily stepped inside, her face a mask of exhaustion and forced cheerfulness. Her eyes met mine, and for a moment I saw a flicker of guilt before she put on a smile. "Hey, babe," she greeted me, trying to sound casual, but her voice trembled with nervousness. I struggled to maintain my composure, my heart pounding as I replied, "Hi, Emily." She walked toward me, her arms outstretched as if expecting a warm embrace, but I couldn't bring myself to reciprocate. I had seen the truth, and no amount of affection could erase the betrayal. She hugged me tightly, her voice soft and apologetic. "I missed you today. We've been through so much, and I just want us to be okay again. I couldn't bear the hypocrisy of her words. Is that so, Emily? I said. She pulled back, her eyes searching mine. What's wrong? Why do you look so distant? I took a step back, my emotions bubbling to the surface. I know, Emily. I know about the affair. About Alex, I said. Her face paled and her eyes widened in shock. She stammered, her voice trembling. I don't know what you're talking about. I couldn't contain my anger any longer, the words spilling out in a torrent. I went to the hotel, Emily. I saw the truth. You're staying there under his name, I said as her denial faltered, and she slumped onto the couch, her tears finally breaking through. I can't explain it. It's complicated, she managed to say. The room fell silent, save for the sound of her sobs. I had expected this confrontation, but the reality of it was even more painful than I had imagined. I paced the room, struggling to find the right words. Emily, I can't do this anymore, I said, my voice filled with resignation. I can't pretend everything's okay when it's not. We've lost something that can't be repaired. She looked up at me, her tears streaming down her cheeks. Please, can't we try to work through this? I made a mistake, but I love you, she pleaded. The weight of her words hung heavily in the air, but I couldn't ignore the betrayal that had torn us apart. Taking a deep breath, I made a decision. I've already made up my mind, Emily. We need to separate. It's the only way to find some semblance of peace in all of this, I said. She nodded, her tears unabated. I understand, I guess, but what about the kids? My heart ached at the thought of our children caught in the crossfire of our shattered marriage. We'll have to figure that out together, but they deserve to know the truth too, I replied. As the night settled in around us, the painful reality of our situation became clear. The love that had once bound us together was now a distant memory, and the future remained uncertain as we faced the difficult path of separation in the wake of the devastating confrontation with Emily. Our lives hung in limbo, the wreckage of our marriage strewn about us. The days that followed were filled with somber discussions and difficult decisions. I knew that we had reached a crossroads in our lives. One evening, as we sat in the dimly lit living room, our children safely asleep in their rooms, Emily and I began to discuss the future. The tension in the room was palpable, but we needed to find a resolution for the sake of our family. I broke the silence, my voice laden with sorrow. We need to talk to the kids, Emily. They deserve to know the truth about what's happening, I said. She nodded, her eyes filled with regret. I know, but I'm scared of how they'll react. I don't want to hurt them. I understood her apprehension, but knew that keeping them in the dark would only prolong their pain. We had to be honest with them, reassure them that we both love them, and that this isn't their fault. The thought of our children's confusion and sadness weighed heavily on us both, but we knew it was a necessary step toward healing. As the days turned into weeks, we began the process of separating our lives, dividing assets, discussing custody arrangements, and untangling the intricate threads that had bound us together for so long. Each decision was agonizing, but it was a necessary part of moving forward. One evening, as we sat at the kitchen table surrounded by legal documents and the remnants of the life we had once shared, Emily spoke up. I've been thinking, maybe it's time for me to move out, give you and the kids some space, she said. Her words hit me with a mixture of relief and sadness. That might be for the best, I replied, my voice heavy with resignation. We both need some time apart to heal. As the days passed, Emily moved into a small apartment and we began the process of co-parenting our children. It was a painful adjustment, but we both knew it was the right decision for their well-being. One evening, as we met to discuss the children's schedules, Emily looked at me with a hint of sadness in her eyes. I never wanted any of this to happen, she said, her voice filled with regret. I nodded, my own heart heavy with sorrow. Neither did I, Emily, but sometimes life takes unexpected turns and we have to find a way to move forward. And move forward we did, each of us on our own path of self-discovery and healing. The scars of our failed marriage would forever be a part of us, but we were determined to find happiness and fulfillment in our separate journeys. As time passed, we both began to rebuild our lives, our children's laughter serving as a reminder that love and hope could endure even in the face of heartbreak. The future remained uncertain, but we were determined to navigate it with grace and resilience, knowing that we had the strength to face whatever lay ahead.